After you have both ideas sketched and you've chosen your favorite one and why, you'll be ready to start drawing your chosen idea on your final paper. As a step to prepare for this process, we're going to intentionally create a border around the edges with a ruler. While we're using a ruler to create the border, you can measure if you want. An easier method will be to take the ruler and line it up with the edge of the paper, hold it down, and use the width of the ruler itself as your consistent distance. So that's how I'm going to do it. I find it to be easier. If you want to measure, again, that's an option that you can choose. But this way, if you always trace against the edge and you've lined the ruler up with the edge of your paper, you'll still have the same width of border on each side. We're creating an intentional border for this project because we're using colored pencil and burnishing. What happens when you color very near the edge of a paper is it's much more likely to get little tiny bumps from where the pencil is nicking it, or sometimes it can even rip or tear. By creating this border, what we're doing is we're preventing that from happening because we can color right up to the edge of this new square that we've made. It's also making our paper just a bit smaller, which will be easier to do when we add our stained glass imitating colored pencil technique. Alright, I've gone ahead and sketched my favorite design idea onto my paper with my pencil, and I had ruler straight lines in mind, so I also used a ruler as well to make those. After you have your design sketched, you can choose if you want to trace it with permanent marker or not. I think the permanent marker lines that are dark and solid will help emulate the look of the metal that connects pieces of stained glass, so I'm going to choose to do that. And after that, we'll use the techniques of burnishing and blending to make it look like stained glass. Even though I'm pausing and unpausing the video recording as I'm making it so that it takes less time in actually watching it, all of these steps that I seem to have done very quickly are actually taking a lot of time. One of the things about making an artwork and learning how to make artwork is you do have to put in time and dedication to your skills to improve. It can take even someone with a lot of experience a lot of time to do whatever art process that they are making, and that's okay. It's through practicing something that we learn and get better. There, I've finished tracing, and I want to point out it's okay to make mistakes in your artwork too. I made what I perceive as a mistake right here when my line went longer than I intended. So to make that a little less obvious, I drew a second border all the way around the edge to recontain that line. So sometimes you can still keep an artwork even if it's not perfect, and that's part of the process of learning as well. After you're done tracing your lines, then we'll use colored pencil and work on blending and burnishing. I strongly recommend you test out your color combinations or plan out your color combinations on the planning paper that we did before we started this part. But just a quick reminder, when we're burnishing, for it to be burnished, what has to happen is the surface of the paper has to look shiny and reflective. Burnishing is often best done in layers. That way you have more control, and then you can also overlap different colors. So here I'm going to choose to make a color combo between a dark green and a turquoise. So I'm starting out lightly with the dark green, then I'm going to overlap the turquoise. So right now I do have a blend between these two colors, but if I check by tilting the paper, it's not shiny, it's not catching the light, so it's not yet burnished. I can continue to overlap and layer them to make that blend really smooth, and then gradually press harder and harder with the pencil until it is burnished. Burnishing can take a little while to achieve in the artwork, and that's okay. It's a really good opportunity for us to practice color mixing to see what color combinations you can make, and just control of our pencil and working on developing those fine motor skills. So we're getting close. It's almost starting to look shiny, but I can still see there's also white of the paper, so it's not really quite burnished just yet. I would have to add a few more layers of color or press down even harder. Sometimes I like to burnish with ultimately the lighter color. I like the effect that that can give. I think it makes it look luminous, like it is glowing, more like that stained glass technique. And also if you switch the directions that your pencil is going. Originally I was coloring this direction, and then I turned my paper, and now I'm coloring across the grain, so to speak. That can help close up all of the other little tiny microscopic holes in the paper to achieve the shiny, burnished technique effect. Now, when I tilt it, it really does have that shiny, waxy, glassy appearance, so I know this shape is burnished and I'm ready to color all of the rest of the shapes.